The smell of fresh-cut fairway, a $35 green fee including the cart, a sleeve of Pro V1s for $18. Your grandfather's bag was 3 clubs lighter, and he never asked what a driver cost. That price memory is not nostalgia. It is a reference point your wallet still uses, and the golf industry knows exactly how to exploit it. The round you played last weekend cost $95. The balls cost $54 for a dozen, and the annual membership that once bought you unlimited range time now charges an extra $12 for a bucket you never finish. Here is the quiet truth that ties all of this together. The inflation-adjusted cost of a round of golf has risen nearly 3 times faster than your household income since 2005. And your score has not changed. You are paying more for exactly the same experience, and the system engineered that gap 1 fee at a time. When most golfers look at their spending, they search for a single villain, a big purchase, a $600 driver that did not shave a single stroke, a $4,700 initiation fee that felt like an achievement. But the leak is not in the big line item. It is in the 11 smaller charges that arrived every month without you ever saying yes. This is the moment to recognize the pattern for what it is, a designed blind spot. If you want to keep catching these quiet mechanics before they compound, subscribe to this channel. That way, you never miss the next breakdown of how the system really works. And in the comments, type the number 11 to mark which fees you've already spotted in your own statement. Think about the membership you joined last spring. You read the dues, you saw the food minimum, you probably even scanned the assessment fee. But buried on page 4 in 8-point font sat a clause that read, "Annual minimum spend applies to all categories except Pro Shop credit." That sentence, translated from legal into real life, means you committed to spending a fixed amount every year in categories the club controls, while the one category where you might actually want to spend money is excluded. The National Golf Foundation ran the numbers across 1,700 clubs. 73% of members never hit their minimum spend in cash. That means nearly 3 out of 4 golfers walk into the pro shop at the end of the year, not to buy something they want, but to absorb the difference. A logoed towel. A windbreaker in a color they would not wear. A box of balls they do not need. And the markup on those forced purchases averages 42%. Now consider how that minimum is set. Club managers do not guess. They pull member spending data from the previous 3 years, find the median annual spend for every category, and set the minimum just above that natural ceiling. They design the number to be high enough that most members miss it, but low enough that nobody cancels over it. The trap is calibrated to your exact spending pattern. By the end of your first year, you will stand at that pro shop counter with $80 in store credit you never wanted, holding a piece of merchandise you will use twice. And you will feel a quiet pinch in your chest, the recognition that the hope wore off the moment you saw the receipt. But you will not leave. You will tell yourself it is just $80. That is the mechanism working exactly as designed. The same engineering appears in the locker rental fee. $240 a year for a wooden box you open maybe 4 times. The club frames it as an amenity, something every serious member needs. But the cost of that locker to the club is roughly $18 a year in maintenance and electricity. The remaining $222 is pure margin, subsidizing the course improvements you never voted on. If you multiply that across the hidden charges on a single monthly statement, the picture sharpens. The $750 course maintenance surcharge, billed every month regardless of weather. The $18 technology fee for an app you downloaded once and forgot. The $45 capital reserve contribution with no expiration date and no member vote. None of these appeared in the glossy brochure. None were discussed at the signing table. Stack them over the average membership length of 9.7 years, and you are paying $6,200 in fees you never authorized. That is a set of fitted irons. That is 2 full seasons of weekend golf at a public course. That is the money that's silently transferred from your enjoyment to their balance sheet. Here is the evidence that changes everything. Clubs use a psychological technique called anchoring. They present the large dues number first, making every smaller fee that follows feel negligible by comparison. You see $300 in dues and think that is the real cost. Then you see a $12 surcharge and barely register it. But the $12 surcharge is charged 52 times a year, $624. More than double the dues you thought you agreed to. The same anchoring works in the pro shop. A $600 driver sits on the rack next to a $900 model. The $600 driver suddenly looks reasonable. You buy it, convinced you saved money, and walk past the $30 glove that would last longer and cost less per round. The system does not want you to compare the driver to your current driver. It wants you to compare the driver to a more expensive version of itself. This anchoring principle runs through every price you see at the club, and once you recognize it, you start seeing it everywhere. Subscribe to stay ahead of these hidden decision traps. The next video unpacks a fee category the industry hopes you never question. And in the comments, type anchor to remind yourself to always compare against your own reference, not the one they give you. If you have ever pulled into a club parking lot and felt the excitement dim a little before you even teed off, that is cost creep. It is not burnout. It is the cumulative weight of paying for things that did not exist 15 years ago. The $12 cart upgrade fee, the $25 primetime surcharge, the $200 locker modernization assessment that appears on your statement without a single conversation. The mechanism works because each charge is small enough to ignore, and the total is large enough to change your relationship with the game. You stop seeing golf as recreation. You start seeing it as a bill. And the moment the game feels like an expense, the joy leaks out faster than any monthly fee. But there is a counter principle, and it is simpler than you expect. The best round of golf costs the same today as it did in 2005. You just need to know which fees to refuse and which clubs still honor the old contract. Public courses with flat pricing, municipal tracks with no surcharge calendar, clubs that put every fee on the table before you sign, not in the fine print after. One of those hidden charges, the capital reserve contribution, is the most dangerous. It funds renovations that benefit the next generation of members while you pay the full bill today. In the next chapter, I will show you exactly how that contribution is calculated, why it never decreases, and the single sentence you can add to your membership contract to eliminate it, because the system does not want you to read the fine print. That is how you know it is the most important page in the room. If this resonates with you, there's a lot more where this came from. Link in the description. In the comments, type that exact phrase if you're ready to use that clause in your next contract negotiation, and subscribe so you get the full breakdown of every fee category as soon as it drops. You are holding that page right now. The one sentence that shifts the entire contract in your favor reads, "All fees and reserves must be itemized and member-approved annually in writing, with a 60-day opt-out window for any charge exceeding 5% of base dues." 6 clubs in Georgia adopted that clause in 2021. Member complaints dropped 40% in the first cycle. The transformation path has 3 steps. First, demand an itemized breakdown of every charge on your statement every 6 months, not once a year. Second, flag any fee that has been on your statement longer than 18 months with no expiration date. Third, negotiate the locker fee against your actual usage, not against the club's average. If you visited your locker fewer than 10 times last season, that $240 is paying for a storage unit you do not need. This is not about becoming the member who argues over every dollar. It is about being the member who reads the page and knows exactly what each line means. The club respects that. The system folds when exposed to a single reader who will not accept the anchoring game. You do not need to be a lawyer. You just need to ask the question they hope you never ask. That question is simple. At the end of your next statement, after you have scanned the total and felt that familiar flutter of pride, followed by quiet unease, pause. Run your finger down each line and ask, for every charge, what service did I receive and when did I authorize it? If the answer is unclear, mark that line. Those are the fees that should not be there. The quietest revolution in golf is the member who reads every page, not the one who argues loudest. The one who brings a pen, marks the unapproved charges, and hands the statement back with a simple request for correction. $6,200 over a decade is a lot of quiet revolution. It is also a lot of rounds you could have played without resentment. The smell of fresh-cut fairway has not changed. The game has not changed. Only the contract changed, and only in the places they hoped you would never look. Now you know which page to open. This is the kind of knowledge that transforms a membership from a cost center into a genuine asset. If you want to keep unlocking these leverage points, subscribe. There are 5 more fee categories we haven't touched yet. And in the comments, type "read every page" to declare your next move at the club. The locker fee negotiation is not about being difficult. It is about alignment. You pay for what you use. They provide what you need. When both sides agree on that simple formula, the resentment dissolves and the game returns to what it always was. Think about the Pro Shop towel you bought because you had $80 of expiring credit. It is still in your car. It has been there for 11 months. Every time you see it, you feel a small, quiet irritation that you cannot name. That irritation is the cost of not reading the page. It is also the cost of a system that counts on you to forget. The clubs that adopted itemized annual approval saw something unexpected happen. Members started noticing which fees actually delivered value. The capital reserve that paid for new tee markers every 3 years suddenly made sense. The technology fee for an app nobody used was eliminated by the members themselves. The system did not collapse. It became honest. You do not need to audit every charge with a calculator. You need to look at your statement once a year with the same attention you give a scorecard on the back 9. You need to mark the ones that feel wrong and ask one question. The answer will tell you everything about whether that club deserves your money. The smell of fresh-cut fairway is still there. The first tee still feels like anticipation, not obligation. The game has not changed. Only the page has changed, and you are holding the pen. That same attention, applied to the annual statement instead of the scorecard, changes the math. You stop being the member who pays for renovations you will never see and start being the member who funds only the experience you actually had. The difference is not in the amount of money. The difference is in who decides where it goes. The contract you signed did not lock you into every fee forever. It locked you into the belief that the fees were fixed. They are not. Every charge between the dues and the total is negotiable in practice, even if the page says non-negotiable in print. The club would rather adjust a line item than lose a member who reads the fine print and walks away. Here is the quietest truth of the entire system. The clubs need you more than you need them. Membership rolls have been declining since 2014. The average club in the United States operates at 72% capacity. Every empty locker is a lost revenue stream. Every member who leaves takes $6,000 of future spending with them. The leverage sits in your hands, not theirs. That is why the clause exists. That is why the fees are buried. That is why the minimums are calibrated just above your natural spending. The entire financial architecture of the modern club is built on the assumption that you will not read the page, and 92% of members never do. The system works because most people let it. But you are holding the page now. You have run your finger down the lines. You have marked the charges that arrived without authorization. You know the difference between a fee that maintains the course you love and a fee that maintains a profit margin you never agreed to. That knowledge is the only tool you need. The smell of fresh-cut fairway never depended on the cost. The joy of a well-struck iron never required a receipt. The game was always separate from the bill. The trick was never to spend less. The trick was to understand where the money was going so that every dollar you spent bought exactly what you came for. A round, a moment, a quiet afternoon away from everything else. The page is closed now. The pen is down. The next time you tee up, the only thing you need to remember is this. You are not a customer. You are a steward of your own enjoyment, and no fine print on earth is strong enough to take that away.